but let's look at the draw that we do have, and that is for the first 3 rounds of the competition. Which matches stand out for you, and which players from round 1 do you fancy to be in the hat for that 4th round draw?
Yeah, there's some really good matches, and I decided to pick a few of those first round matches just to answer both parts of the question all together at once. Obviously, there's going to be some very good 2nd and 3rd round matches. Some of them we already know because of the way the draw worked out. We know some of the players who are entering in the 3rd round drew each other, but very often could be one of 4 players going against one of 4 players. So it is, a little difficult to say what are the great 3rd round, what are the great 2nd round matches. Boris Kursmar versus Jermaine Watermain is one that jumps out as a 3rd round matchup. I think Jermaine Watermain, as I've said before, is going to have a big year. I think Boris Kursmar is going to have a big year. Both of them, though, not off to the start I thought they would have. Luke Woodhouse against Josh Rock, another one of those 3rd round ones that is good. But I want to focus on 3 first round ties because these are both involve 2 players that, if they get through it very well, could advance all the way to that 4th round. I'll start with one that's on the main stage, Jelle Klaasen, the last player in through the Challenge Tour Order of Merit, at least prior to someone getting in through the Phillips spots after David Pallet chose not to enter, going against Josh Payne, who's back on tour after falling off of it a little over a year ago. I think that's a very interesting match. Josh Payne's playing all right to start the year. Jelle Klaasen, obviously deep run at Dutch Open, played well at Q School, but wasn't able to win a tour card. I think that's a very good match between someone who I think will be back on tour in the next year or two against someone who has won a couple of titles on tour and has every chance to get reestablish himself now that he has a tour card again. Jan van Veen against Robert Owen. I think that's a really, really tasty tie. Jan van Veen obviously made a final at the back end of last year, was in the World Grand Prix spots, was in the competition for the World Match Play, but did not get into the top 64 and was the next, and therefore did not get to get a tour card through that. So all of his rankings dropped back down to 0. But so far this year, 18th in averages in the Players' Championship events this year, off to a start that shows that what he was playing at the end of last year was no surprise. And if you're hearing barking, I'm sorry about that. I am in Houston at a friend's house. I can't control their dogs, and can't even cancel that out with noise canceling headphones. Jan van Veen doing really well, but Robert Owen back on tour after being off of it for the last few years. He's 34th in averages so far this year. He's playing very well, showing that maybe this is the time that he's going to finally make the World Championships and emerge into the top 64. He got his tour card through finishing 2nd on the Challenge Tour last year. But those are 2 players off to a hot start going head-to-head in the first round. And one more first-round match. Nick Kenny, 13th in averages so far this year in the Players' Championship events, qualified for a couple of the Euro Tours already, going against one of the surprises of Q School, but a player who has a world of a future ahead of him, and Pascal Ruprecht hasn't fully hit the ground running quite yet so far, but has played okay. He's 82nd in averages so far. He's been competitive, won through one of the qualifiers for a Euro Tour. I think he's a player who's going to improve massively over the course of the year, but this is the first time we'll get to see him in a televised event. I think he is a player to look out for, even against someone who's hot like Nick Kenny right now. I think all 6 of those players who are entering in the first round have a good chance to get through. Obviously, though, there's some tough ones. I mentioned Klaasen against Payne. The winner of that goes against Riccardo Pietreczko, who's been very good so far this year and seems like his 2nd year on tour is going to be a massive improvement. And the winner of that gets the honor of going against Scott Williams. It's going to be tough for any of these players in the first round, but I wanted to focus on these 6 because I think having a tough first round match is going to make the winner of that match even more difficult in the second round, even if it is against someone like Riccardo Pietreczko, and even if the reward for that is someone like Scott Williams.
Yeah, some good picks there, and got to say, from the outset, we were hoping for a father v son, James versus Josh Richardson, 2 of our guests on the show this week, to happen in the first round. James said he didn't want that draw, or a brothers game between Roby John Rodriguez and Rusty Jake Rodriguez, but we've not got either of those, unfortunately for us, but some ties which I'm looking forward to. I like the look of, and I've got to start with the first game on the main stage. You've got Luke Littler there, just turned 16. He won one of the Riley's qualifiers on his 16th birthday, and yeah, I think back to when I was 16, I was struggling to win a first round match in the Essex Youth Open or the Felixstowe Youth Open. So this young man, he's got a lot of talent, and against Nick Fulwell, of course, a much more experienced player, but someone who's been short of wins since winning his tour card at Q School last year. So if Luke can win that one, then it's going to be Rusty Jake Rodriguez waiting for him in the second round, who I mentioned a moment ago. And if that goes 11 legs, that will probably be over in 10 minutes. That will be a very quick fire game. And you mentioned Jella Clarkson. Yeah, that game with Josh Payne, that's the next one on the main stage. That one definitely jumps off the list here as well. And we spoke with Jella in Minehead last year, and he's run to the fourth round as a Riley's qualifier. Then there's going to be no red polo shirt for him this year. As you mentioned, he qualified via the Challenge Tour. So he's been in the UK Open as a tour card holder, a Riley's qualifier, now the Challenge Tour. I somehow doubt he's going to get the full set and qualify via the Development Tour next year, but it is good to see Jella in the UK Open again. And one of our guests, James Richardson, against Thibaut Tricol. I think that's going to be another good one. That's going to be happening on the second stage, the second game on that, and the winner of that will then go on to the main stage to go up against Richie Burnett. So that's a nice little section of the draw. But as far as players making it through to the fourth round, you mentioned one of the players there, Nick Kenny, and I was just looking at that little section of the draw. You've got 8 players in there. Oh, sorry, you've got 7 players in there, I should say, because one of them, they all are starting in the first round, but one of them, Thomas Banks, another of the Riley's qualifiers, he's got a bye through to the second round. But all of them theoretically are starting in the first round, and all of them are going to be looking at that and saying 3 wins against players that are starting in the same round as me. I've missed out on players in the top 33 to 64. You've got a chance of getting through here, and Nick Kenny's definitely one from that list of 7 players. I'll go with another name from that little list there, and that's going to be Graham Hall, another Riley's qualifier from last year. He's got his tour card now. I'm going to back him to do it again. He made the fourth round last year with that red polo shirt. I'm going to back him to do it in a different shirt this time round. And a couple others I'll give a mention to. Maybe a Lucas Veinig as well. He's got Jeffrey Desvan in the first round, then Gert Nenchez or Christian Kist, and then it would be Luke Peters or James Wilson. And Lucas is someone that we've seen a few times now on the Euro Tour. I think he's someone that's got a lot of potential, and someone that we could see get a tour card in the next few years. And my last pick, he is someone that has got a tour card only recently, but already made his mark. He got to a semi-final on his first weekend on the Pro Tour. Dylan Slevin, Mike Kyvenhoven in the first round, then Sean Wilkinson in the second round, and it would be another player who started in the first round in the third round if he gets through. So yeah, they're going to be my 3 picks. I'm going to go Graham Hall, Lucas Veinig and Dylan Slevin to make it through to that fourth round draw.